Every dollar that is spent on that primary will be a dollar not spent on trying to defeat Donald Trump.
Welcome to this week's Wacky Moments of Liberal Expression. Do you remember Justin Fever just a few years back? The media just loved that liberal Canadian Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau, a former boxer, drama teacher, now a political heartthrob, featured in January's American Vogue.
Do you think he's dreamy too? Is that a word you'd use?
I might use dreamy.
And just the other day, the Prime Minister was cuddling with pandas at the Toronto Zoo.
I wanted to go.
And now all the pandemonium has spread to Washington.
And a leader dubbed Canada's Obama seemed locked in a political bromance. On social media, I wish someone would look at me the way Trudeau looks at Obama. The hashtag Trubama emerging, celebrating two leaders who seem to see a lot of themselves in each other.
Except Barack Obama is black and Justin Trudeau just wears blackface, apparently on multiple occasions. But hey, you know, it's only those evil conservatives that pounce on this issue.
The conservatives are very strong up there, and they are, of course, pouncing on this as an example of him being inauthentic, of him they're calling this reprehensible.
Conservative Party leader Andrew Scheer, Trudeau's political opponent in next month's election, pounced, saying the photo shows a complete lack of judgment and integrity.
Those conservatives and their condemning of blackface, I mean, what is wrong with them? CNN's Don Lemon tells us it's okay because liberal Trudeau, well, you know, he apologized.
Listen, I'm not talking about what he did, how egregious, whatever you think, you can think about that, but to hear a leader apologize and seem contrite, to have some level of contrition, it's such a, pun intended, foreign.
What? Did that really happen? Does that actually happen?
Of course, President Trump doesn't have to apologize for wearing blackface because he didn't do it. But apparently leftists at CNN hang out with lots of people who have worn blackface.
Look, you and I have friends who have worn blackface. You and I, know people who did this in the past.
Wow. I wonder if she'll name those friends. I'm curious. How many of them do you think work at CNN?
I was just talking to a makeup stylist at CNN, a person of color. She's like, never in my life did it occur to me to put on blackface or brownface. I'm like, you know what? Me too. Never in my life did it occur to put on blackface or brownface.
Obviously not a friend of Ana Navarro. While photo evidence of blackface is easily forgiven by leftists, no evidence is necessary for the media to call for Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's removal.
Democratic presidential candidates called for impeachment. President Trump tweeted Kavanaugh should start suing people for libel. The incident was detailed in the New York Times from a new book by two of the paper's reporters. According to a Yale classmate of Kavanaugh's, he exposed himself to a woman while at a college party in the 1980s. But late Sunday, the Times issued a clarification. The female student declined to be interviewed, and friends say she does not recall the incident.
Lots of coverage, and MSNBC rolls out a former Obama official to claim that even if no one ever recalls something happening, it should still be investigated.
And now here we are. And I think that the fact that the woman may have been drunk and not remembered the incident in particular doesn't mean it didn't happen.
That led a week where a report that an anonymous intelligence official has claimed that President Trump said something to a foreign leader during a phone call that the unnamed official found troubling. So that's a constitutional crisis.
The Washington Post first reporting that an intelligence official was so bothered by a promise President Trump made to a foreign leader that he filed a formal complaint with the Inspector General.
House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff outraged, demanding answers and suggesting a cover-up.
Is that what Adam Schiff did? Outrage about the president? Well, that's certainly news. Over at MSNBC, there was more disturbing news. Some Democrats are actually challenging each other for office, and the Morning Joe crew doesn't think that should happen because that equals Democratic dollars that are not being spent fighting for MSNBC's anti-Trump agenda.
Every dollar that is spent on that primary will be a dollar not spent on trying to defeat Donald Trump. Every dollar spent on that primary will be a dollar that will not be available. Why? Now, does Joe Kennedy decide he wants to take out one of the most progressive, one of the most respected Democratic voices in the Senate.
Darn it, Democrats. Listen to your media masters. You don't challenge a Democrat for office because you think he might do a better job or anything. I mean, didn't you hear the news on Monday morning that there may be less Democratic dollars to go around?
A leading Democratic Party donor is accused of running a drug house where 2 men died, while prosecutors in Los Angeles call him a dangerous sexual predator.
Democratic mega donor Ed Buck left his Los Angeles home overnight in the back of a police car. The 65-year-old is charged with injecting drugs into a man, but police have eyed the powerful political insider for more than 2 years. In court filings, prosecutors say Buck used the bait of narcotics, money, and shelter to lure victims to his home, where, in a position of power, Buck manipulates his victims into participating in his sexual fetishes. Buck is an LGBTQ activist who has donated tens of thousands of dollars to high-profile Democratic candidates, including Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
Well, you know, maybe they didn't hear about Ed Buck's arrest, especially if they were watching NBC's Monday morning coverage. Yeah, evidence and arrest of Democrats, that is just not worth giving airtime to. It's really interesting what's worth investigating and giving coverage to in the leftist media, don't you think? That's all the time we have this week. I'm Eric Shiner for MRC TV. Be sure to like and subscribe to the videos. Check out mrctv.org, and we'll be back with more leftist media madness next week.